Hi everyone, welcome to my March reads. March was a good reading month for me. I read 3 books, which I feel is pretty on average or slightly below for me. However, they were all part of really amazing series, and I'm so ecstatic to share what I read with you. It's going to be so much fun. But first, what we're going to do is set up our monthly reading journal page. And this month being March, I decided to decorate it in a textiles pattern in the color of green. I've always associated March with the color green, probably because of St. Patrick's Day, but also because where I live, we get our first rays of sunshine after heaps of rain, which of course results in a lot of grass, greenery, and flowers blooming. For whatever reason, I got in my head I wanted to do a quilted look. It's really cozy, but also incorporates all the different shades that I want to in a patchwork pattern, and I just found it really fun. This is once again inspired by something I did find in Pinterest, of course adopting it to the way I wanted it to look, but I will also try and link that below in this video. I'm using Papermate Flair pens and zebra Mildliners for the most part to create these delicate, colorful patterns, and I find them really lovely, and they don't bleed through the paper at all, probably because I'm using a light hand with it, but it is working out quite well. As you can see here, I'm still working quite a lot on my lettering. I promise it'll shape up to be something that I find acceptable, but it does take a little bit of time for me to get to that place and know exactly what I want to do for the page, which is totally okay. Just working a little bit on my confidence for my lettering skills. The first book I finished in the month of March was Hellbent, which for me was a long time coming. I had read the first book in the series, which is called Ninth House, back in February, and I really loved it. It was my favorite book of the month. And if you would like to hear more on my thoughts, my review for Ninth House, I highly recommend you go back to my previous video for my February reads. But in this one, I'm going to be talking about the second book in the series without divulging any major spoilers, and I thought it was amazing. No doubt, Leigh Bardugo really knocked it out of the park with this series so far. Ninth House is a dark academia novel that follows Galaxy Stern, otherwise known as Alex, who is a 20-year-old high school dropout and homicide survivor able to see ghosts. And because of this ability, she's recruited into Yale on a full scholarship and tasked with being part of Lethe, which is the ninth house that monitors 8 secret societies that practice dangerous occult magic. Hellbent definitely raises the stakes. It feels a lot creepier and darker because she dives in another mission to save Darlington, who is in a predicament, which we learn in the first story through several flashbacks. I love the plot twists and turns and Alex's past coming back to haunt her. Every character embraced the worst and best parts in themselves, and I rated this 4.5 stars. Next up, I read Legendborn, which was a highly anticipated read for me from last year, and it's a young adult fantasy series by Tracy Dion that follows Bree Matthews, who, after losing her mother, attends UNC Chapel Hill, her mother's alma mater. And while she's there, she witnesses a magical attack and discovers a secret society called the Legendborn, which is comprised of the descendants of King Arthur's knights. As things don't quite add up to Bree from her mother's death and from the magical attack, she ends up infiltrating the Legendborn, uncovering her own magical powers and the truth behind the society's history. I found this story highly interesting because of its unique magic system, the characters, but also its exploration into grief and generational trauma, especially within the African American community. I thought the mystery intertwining both the King Arthur legend and the African American history was so clever. The commentary on privilege and power was so necessary. And though a very complex book for me, I thought it was very well written, so very much deserved the 4.5 stars I gave it. And lastly, I read a book called Onyx Storm, which, if you haven't heard of it, it's the third installment of the Empyrean series, which of course started off with Fourth Wing from Rebecca Yarros, a sensation. Doing my best to avoid spoilers for you in case you haven't read it, this fantasy series follows Violet Sorrengail, the daughter of a powerful general who is forced into the brutal Basgiath War College. Against her will, she joins the Riders Quadrant, where she must prove herself through trials and bond with a dragon or face death. As a physically fragile cadet who has disabilities, Violet faces immediate threats. Enter in Xaden Ryerson, her wing leader, who initially seemed to want revenge against her and her family due to previous events. Their relationship changes quite significantly in ways that continue to surprise us as readers. Those who are caught up know exactly what I mean. Violet must constantly be learning and outwitting other people to survive while navigating a world of secrets and danger. In addition to all of this mess, the war outside the college is escalating, threatening the kingdom and its people's safety. As the third novel, Onyx Storm follows Violet as she navigates the aftermath of the previous book and the war. She embarks on a quest to find allies and find even more answers that she needs. And this was my favorite part of the book, as Violet was exploring relationships with potential allies but kept coming up with resistance. She had to find ways of outsmarting people once again. And though the series gets a bad rap for its modern language that's used and the writing style, these books are just fun and hilarious and keep my love for fantasy alive. So I rated it 4.5 stars, which is higher than the previous book for me, so hopefully it just keeps getting better. I'm really pleased with the reading I did in March because I found myself starting and continuing fantasy books that I really love. And in my heart of hearts, it's my favorite genre. And really excited to continue filling out my book bingo. I didn't think Hellbent would be the way I filled out Animal on book cover. It does tie back to the plot, but it's an unfortunate looking rabbit. And Legendborn's my one-word book title. And I am so silly because reading Hellbent, I thought it was done with the entire book series until I finished it and I realized there was a third. And I looked it up just to be sure. I am so glad though I'm filling out my priority series tracker with the other books that I read this month. And it was really hard to choose my favorite book of the month, but I chose Legendborn. It's just so cool. And there you have it. That's my 2025 March reading wrap up. I'm so glad to spend this time with you discussing what I read in the past month. Hopefully this video gave you some ideas for what to do in your own reading journal or what to read next. I'd love to hear about your favorite book that you read in March or so far this year. So go ahead and leave a comment, like this video, and subscribe to this channel for more. See you next time.